Hello everyone, this is Caroline and today is Healers Program Series number 4. So if you are attending this for the first time, make sure you go back and you do lesson 1, 2, and 3 because we are covering topics that continue from class to class. So I would appreciate it if you go over those topics before you jump into this class. So the way we're going to go about this, as usual, I'm going to be talking for hopefully about 40 minutes or so, covering the class material of this week. And then we will do a little bit of question and answer time. And then we will end with the experiential portion of this class. We will practice some of the things that we would have covered today. Before I begin, though, I wanted to respond to a couple of the questions that you guys had sent me through email. Some of the questions are going to be answered through the class today, so don't worry if you don't hear the answer right this minute. One question was about the language used in the healing session. Somebody was saying, as you are formulating intent and formulating the ask and intent or the connection or what have you, if you are from a foreign, which is very relevant to this group for sure, since we have an international crowd, if you have a language problem, does this stuff still work? Of course it does. The only thing that, for example, you as the healer, if you are working with somebody who does not speak your language, as long as the intent for the energy is there, to work through, it will definitely, the healing will still occur. The only thing is that the person may not participate as much or understand as much. So you don't have to worry so much about these details and just tell them to focus on the energy behind it. Also, somebody is asking about the spirit self, if that's what we call the aura. The aura is more the energy field, the entire energy field, whereas the spirit self is the part of your being that is vibrating at the higher rate. Remember, 734 to 1,000 hertz. So that's the part that I call the spirit self, or some people call it the higher self. Okay, so also, what else? Oh, somebody else was asking about when we merge with an organ, for example, we have a problem with the heart or the stomach, do we have to visualize what it looks like or, just like in the picture? You don't have to worry about that. Again, the intent is for you to merge. Your higher self will lead the merging process. So it's really not as, you don't have to kind of make sure that you imagine the actual heart being there or what have you. Another important question was actually when somebody merged with their particular organ, trying to do the healing or receiving the information. The information was so overwhelming. The emotion that came out was so overwhelming that it was difficult for this person to actually stay focused. That's precisely the reason why you have to get used to being in this higher vibration, in the 734 to 1,000 hertz, because that's how you're going to keep your objective, your ability to kind of stay focused on what you're doing. So obviously it was so overwhelming. It's just a good practice. You just have to practice. Otherwise you could see some very, very difficult things, and if you cannot hold your focus, it could get all over the place. All right? So that is the importance of this specific vibration, 734 to 1,000 hertz, the part of your being that we call the spirit self. So, all right, moving right along, let's begin to see what we are going to talk about. In this class, we're going to continue to talk about the importance of understanding how the blocks are created. Because if you really understand how the whole thing happened, then you know how to release them, how to undo them, clear them permanently. If you don't really have an understanding about the whole story, then you're going to, have an idea how to feel better, but you may not be able to remove them permanently from your cellular memory. So let's see here. So we're going to go over a little bit the guidance system, the healer's agreement. I will explain all of this. We're going to talk very briefly again about the merging process. We're going to make sure we understand why we have to go to the root cause of the imbalance. And we're going to start working with the first reversal process, which is what I call asking and intending. So we're going to begin with the healer's agreement. Anyway, like I said before, the idea is to have clarity. To have clarity beforehand, before you jump in. That's precisely the reason I covered that question about feeling overwhelmed. Because when you start to connect with someone and you see very, very difficult things, if you don't have the rules of the game, the agreement about this whole session, you could be overwhelmed and not know what to do. So it's about clarity, clarity, clarity. The clearer you are, the more accurate you're going to be, because you'll know exactly what to do. It's not like you're going to go in and just try to figure it out as you go along. You will have so much accuracy that the healing will happen much faster. We talked about last time all clarity on who is doing what in this setting. Once you find yourself in this setting with all of these energies and all of these being floating around, it's very difficult to focus and to really stay on track. So that's why beforehand in the agreement you have to decide who is doing what, who is retrieving information from where, who is really moving the energy, who is really sending you the guidance, and so on and so forth. So all of this is the importance of the healer's agreement. But we're going to start the most important purpose of the agreement is that you are inputting all of this information beforehand. This is very important, and you can look at it this way. Your physical brain, or your human aspect, if you will, is like a computer, right? It's like it's an amazing computer. But the computer, even though it has a brand new operating system, for example, even if you're a PC or a Mac or whatever, but it doesn't necessarily have all the software. You see? At one point in your life, you're going to say, oh, wait a minute, I'd like to know how to draw, and I'd like to do some graphic design. So therefore, you have to get this software that's called Photoshop or something, and you have to upload the software. Then you're going to say, yes, but I need to do some accounting. Okay, well, for that, it's not the Photoshop. You have to use another software, and this other software is called Excel. But you have to upload the software, you see? And then you're going to say, yes, but I want to write a book and I want to print the book. Well, that's yet another software. So what's happening is that depending on what you want to do, you have to upload all of the software that you need in advance. You can't just kind of start doing accounting on the operating system. And I mean, you can always do that, but it could get very messy if all of a sudden you need all the software all at once. So what's happening is that you are right now, what you're doing, the healer's agreement, and what you're doing in this class, in fact, there are all these tools, all of this information that you need to upload in your consciousness before you start, so that eventually you will actually have very little to do. The idea is that eventually you will be able to just stand there, and by you carrying all of the information, all of the different ways to heal this and clear this and reverse this or what have you is going to be within you. It's going to be part of who you are, that all you will have to do is just stand there. And by vibrational entrainment, the other person will be healed, you see. But until that time, you have to upload the software, you have to work on you have to know how the software works and practice with the software and so on and so forth. So that's what we're doing with the agreement. We are deciding what software we're going to use and for what. So it's a little bit of a background work for eventually doing very, very little at the end. Eventually you will focus on someone even. You don't even have to stand close to them, and you will just heal them or help them heal rather, okay? So the healer's agreement, that's the main purpose. Let's just focus on the main clauses, the main points of this agreement, just so that we can start working. We can start working with this information and move forward with the healing. We said that the first clause is that I'm not going to use my analytical mind. I'm going to use my feeling, my heart center, so that I don't project what I think should be, but rather what really is. So we're going to focus on the feeling, and through the merging process, I'm going to agree that everything I begin to feel is about the client. Once I have merged with the client, everything I feel, if I feel sadness, it's the client. If I feel confusion, it's the client. If I feel frustration, it's the client. If I didn't decide that, then I would think that I am confused, I am frustrated, I am this and that, and then you lose your ability to see clearly, okay? The third clause we're going to introduce today, very, very important, is that I will retrieve the root cause of the issue. It's not enough if somebody comes to me to make them feel better. Of course, we want them to feel better. But part of this story, part of your working at this level, is to help this person, and yourself of course, completely release, resolve whatever problem it is. And the only way to do that is that if you go back to the root cause, the very first time that this block began to appear. And so the healer's agreement, like I said before, it's going to take a while to really put it all together. Why? Because the more you advance, the more you will have more things to add, to change, to take out. And don't worry about all of this, because I will send you a sample agreement by mail, so you don't have to worry about reading all this stuff. I just want to give you an idea that you have to, again, spell out in your agreement very specifically. What are you going to do to maintain your own higher vibration from client to client, from day to day? You have to be very specific. So I'm going to give you some ideas, I'm going to give you some suggestions, and as you do this work, you will have more ideas and more suggestions. And during a session, this was before, in between, but what about during a session? I'm sorry, prior to a session, just prior to a session. How am I going to begin the session? How am I going to engage? What am I going to do in this case? What am I going to do in that case? I just highlighted on this page, like I said, the 3 clauses that we're going to focus on for now, which is feeling from the heart center, reversing the root cause, and what I feel belongs to the client. So all of this, again, you will have plenty of time to look over. I'm just giving you an idea of what it is and how it should look like down the road. And again, the more specific you are, the clearer you are, the more powerful and more accurate your healing is going to be. All right? So again, this is coming later separately, just to make a point that all this legwork we're doing beforehand is going to make your session awesome. Okay? So you've written this whole thing, and of course you're just starting out doing all of this work, and here I am telling you this is what needs to happen. But how do you know? How do you have this confidence, the confidence or the trust that this guidance system is going to work? How do you know that this is going to be accurate? Is there anything that's scientific even about all of this? Of course, everything I've been telling you came from my own experience after years and years and years of figuring out how to sort all of this information that was coming to me. But first of all, when people say, okay, well, let's stick to things that are scientific and so on and so forth. Okay, well, let's define what is scientific. A scientific method is a method of procedure that consists in systematic observation, measurement, and experiment for the testing of a hypothesis. This means that I have to consistently have the same observation. I have to be able to measure it to prove a hypothesis that I have, right? I have to have a systematic and a consistent response from a control group. Right? Okay, well, this method, like I said, I've started this on my own, and I was the first one to put myself on the test. I was saying, wait a minute, how do I know this merging thing works? How do I know that, here I am teaching it to you because I have put myself on the test in every aspect of all of this, and I've questioned every aspect of everything that I'm telling you today. So finally, after 5 years of consistently working with live groups, remote groups, through surrogates or what have you, for example, I would put the merging process through the test, and every single time I get accurate measurable results. What does it mean, measurable results? Meaning, if I'm working on your son who is not here, and you're telling me your son has a cyst somewhere or whatever, and I then do the work through the process that I'm teaching you today, through the merging, through the feeling, through the retrieving information, through going to the root cause, through the agreement that I put together. Well, tomorrow your son comes home, he gets a lab test, and he manifests. It's a measurable results that everybody can see that this particular cyst is gone, or the blood test is different, or so on and so forth. So I have measured myself. Of course, I'm just sharing this with you. Systematic observation of a similar experience through various groups. As you know, I've been working, you all are from different parts of the world, over and over and over, with various individuals testing what I'm telling you. And I have consistently gathered the information, the proof or the evidence that this stuff is working. That's why I feel so confident and I'm teaching it to you. And of course, you're going to have to find your own evidence as you work through this. But in the beginning, I just wanted to tell you that this was a big question for me, and I wanted to make sure that this was happening. But also, the idea is, if I was, the point that's very important here is, if I was able to manifest consistently the positive results that I wanted, this means that over a period of time, it is scientific data finally, because I'm consistently getting the results that I'm looking for with all of these control groups through a period of time, which is exactly the definition of scientific evidence. So anyway, hopefully you will see that for yourself. And of course, in the beginning, I'm sharing this with you so that you have the confidence, and so that the more you do this, the more confidence you have, the more you try this, the more evidence you will have. Okay? So I realized then, if I understood very clearly how the block was created at the beginning, at the root cause, then I will know exactly how to clear it. And I realized that it's not about doing anything, it's about undoing. You see? Because look at the cell here. The cell has already information that tell it exactly how to behave. It tell it exactly how to appear and how to rotate and how to maintain a vibration. But you, since you are born, you add new information through sustained emotions such as fear, such as anxiety, such as confusion or what have you. And you continuously add this new information through time. So this means that if I come with a healing method that tells you you need to give something else, then I'm adding more information, and I have not undone, I have not taken out the stuff that made it that brought on the imbalance in the first place. So this method is not about doing anything. It's about undoing. It's about understanding what was put in there so you can take out exactly what was put in there by the human belief systems. And if you take out what was put in there, meaning this whole block here written in red, then the cell goes back to its original DNA, original vibration organically. It knows how to continue existing forever and ever. Okay, so we're going to talk about intent, but we're also going to, in this method, we're going to cover light, color, geometry, sound, 0 point, many different ways to do 0 point. Of course, we're going to get to all of these tools down the road: universal calibration, grid calibration, extraction, time suspension. All of these tools I have developed through time, and you will learn. This is all the software that you are uploading in this course, so that eventually you will be standing in front of someone, you will be understanding, because your agreement is already written out. You will know exactly that I need to take out the confusion and the anxiety from this person through color. And then I will take out the fear, the self-hatred, the not good enough through sound. And then I will get rid of all the rest through 0 point. Because it's not because this technique is to bring, to undo the information that was put in that brought on the imbalance in the proper way through the proper tool. It's kind of like if you're a painter, you don't use the same tone blue for everything. You don't use the same combination of things for everything. Not everybody is the same. Not because you're all confused that you are all going to release the confusion in the same way, you see. So that's why you are learning a bunch of different software, so many different techniques, so that you will know exactly what to do and how to do when as appropriate to the client at the time. All right, so we're ready to move to the healing session. So here's the healer, here's you, and you are ready to start your first session, or maybe next session. And you are waiting in your space, your sacred space. And let's see, here's Bob. Here comes your first client. And Bob says, Doc, help, I've got a problem. I've got chronic pain in my hands. So of course, if you were the old paradigm healer, you would think, of course, Bob is a handyman. Bob is a plumber, I'm not sure. And he's probably overworked. And of course, he's a little bit overweight, and he's about 55. Therefore, he probably has arthritis, right? That's the analytical old paradigm way of healing, of retrieving information from this school, from the studies that I've done in college, in medical school. I'm going to prescribe, give him something that would help him. The first thing is to add more information to the cells to make the cells behave a certain way, all right? But as we all know, this is not what this class is about. You understand that in order for me as a healer to really understand that this Bob that's coming to me today that has this problem is not just the Bob I see. Bob is a much bigger being. There's a lot more to him. There's a whole story behind this hand having pain. And so I'm going to use then the merging technique. I'm going to merge with his higher self. I'm not even going to merge with his hands. And I'm going to make sure that it's only that aspect of his being. I'm going to remain focused. And my agreement says that I will not use my analytical mind. I'm going to be objective. I'm going to allow my heart to feel the root cause, the information behind this pain. And everything I'm going to feel as soon as I create this connection is about Bob. Nothing to do with me, all right? And then finally, I'm going to ask for the root cause, the real root cause, not what I think it should be, but what the real root cause is as I understand how blocks are created, all right? So then, if that's the case, I know, because I have studied, that blocks don't get created in one day. The fact that today Bob has pain in his hands could have a very long story. I understand that blocks are created through time, and it's from accumulated emotions over time that create new belief systems, human belief systems that were not there before. And the more we continue to accumulate these blocks, we end up creating bubbles and strings, just like you see on your screen. These bubbles and these strings end up kind of creating like a matrix. They become interconnected, all connected with each other. And so understanding that there's all this stuff that happened over the years, the fact that Bob is telling me today that he's got pain in his hand does not necessarily mean that it is because he just has, he's overworked or what have you, but his chronic pain at the top of your screen is not going to be necessarily because of his current emotion, but from something that is that happened way before this time. The client come to you and they tell you what they have today, which is the current problem, which is the chronic pain. They don't come to you and tell you, I don't deserve love, or I'm a failure, or it's all my fault that my parents divorced, or what have you. These are the unconscious belief systems. These are the blocks that are underneath their current problem, right? And so if you understand that this current problem could have come from many blocks that are now interconnected in the matrix, then your job is to ask for the root cause of the current problem. If you specifically say, I want the root cause, then by you specifically saying that, this will take you back to the very first time that this current block was created. And what will also happen, oops, I went too fast. What will also happen is that, let me see here. What will also happen is that if you say the root cause, you will go back and undo the strings very, very fast. Meaning, it's like a domino effect, you know? If you pull the exact piece of domino that holds a lot of things behind it, then the whole thing gets undone. Does that make sense? But if you pull the wrong one, then the whole thing collapses. So the idea is, if you understand these strings and these bubbles, how they are all put together, when you say, give me the root cause, then you will be led to the very first bubble, just like a domino effect. All right? So understanding this, as you continue to look clearly at Bob, you start to see first the emotional and the mind channel blocks that are in his energy field. Remember, we've seen this before. You start to understand that behind the current problem are all these blocks. But then, as you look more carefully, you see the strings. And if you look even more carefully, you will see the entire story of how the bubbles and the strings have registered in the organs and in the cells through time. So on the left is the Bob today, and on the right is everything that's going underneath. So if you are not clear, if you don't have an agreement, if you don't understand how to undo all of this, where do you even begin? Do you realize that most people right now look like this? They look like this person. And there are so many bubbles and strings and connection between the belief systems and the emotional blocks that are so intricately connected and mixed together that if you don't understand this process, then you will not be able to undo this problem all the way to the root cause, meaning remove it permanently. That is the reason why the agreement, the clarity, the understanding about all of this is very, very important. All right? So let's begin to heal Bob. Yeah? What do you say? We're going to begin with the very first technique, which is intent. I'm sure you've heard a lot about intent. Many people, many teachers, speakers have talked about this, the importance of intent. But let me share with you my perception and my definition of what intent is. First of all, again, I'm very, very clear. I hope you're noticing the style here. I want to be clear on everything that I do. So let's be very clear on what we mean by intent, because everybody has their own understanding, their own way of thinking, or what have you. So for me, intent, when I say I intend something, intent means to position the mind channels in a specific alignment so as to attract its vibrational match. Remember the mind channels? We said that you create with the mind channels. So for me, when I intend something, I am positioning them in a particular alignment. You're going to see that in just a second. And then I'm sending out this signal. And the second point is intent is generated through thought. We said that thought is a form of energy. The fact that you don't see the thought, it doesn't mean it's not there. But it's a very specific energy. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny particle of energy. If it's energy, therefore, it has a vibration. If it has a vibration, it means it has an electromagnetic charge. It has an actual electrical charge. So it looks something like this. Here's your higher consciousness and sending you the signal. Remember? These are your mind channels. As you receive this information from your higher consciousness, you begin to formulate your intent. You say, I want money, or I want a job, so I can buy this house, so that I could have a nice relationship, so that I can have a child. So you formulate, you say, I want this, right? In order to create your reality. You say it one way or another, meaning consciously or unconsciously. But look at this picture. These tiny little dots that are coming out of your human brain that is formulating the intent when you say, I want a house, I want more money, or what have you. There's a tiny, tiny little charge. There's a tiny little particle of energy that comes out of your brain. Nobody can see it, but I can. That's why I'm telling you about this. And I'm waiting desperately for the time that I will have an instrument to measure this so that everybody else can see it. But you could also eventually see it the more you do this work. But the idea is, or the point is, there is an actual tiny little cluster of energy that leaves your brain every time you say something, anything. So when you say, I intend this, I want this, this tiny little signal leaves your brain and shoots out towards something. Shoots out towards something. But guess what? If it shoots out, it has a vibration, right? And it has a vibration. Whatever vibration it has is going to attract its exact similar vibration. So if your signal shoots out at 350 hertz when you say you want a house, you're going to receive a signal back of 350 hertz, meaning a house that vibrates at 350 hertz. Same thing when you say, I want more money. If your signal, the energy that's coming out of your brain measures 150 hertz, then the amount of money you receive is not very much dinero, because it's only a very low vibration of 150 hertz. Same thing with the relationship, same thing with every aspect of your life. You see? So in fact, a vibration of 350 hertz or 150 hertz looks more like this. Because if you had this very strong signal, it would be 1,000 hertz. So you see, this is how the signals are coming out of your physical brain. This is why when you're formulating an intent, if you are not clear that the intent is an actual signal, the thought is an actual signal, an electromagnetic signal that's going to attract something. If you are not clear, if you are not raising your vibration, then you are sending signals all over the place, and as you can see, there is no vibrational match. That's why you have a hard time getting money or receiving money or manifesting this house or manifesting this and manifesting what you really want. Therefore, the key is formulate proper intent. Be very clear. Know exactly what needs to happen. You have mind channels for a reason. We talked about the vibration. If you are vibrating at 350, you will send a signal at 350. So that is not aligned with your higher self. Therefore, it's not going to be that good. So before you start with any form of intent, raise your vibration. Raise your vibration. Second, align your mind channels with your higher consciousness. You know that all of the aspects of your being. We talked about the aspect of your being that is mind energy, that is consciousness. Create a specific and clear connection between your human brain, your human aspect, and that aspect of your consciousness. Say, I want my intent to come from my higher consciousness. I want very specific things here. Express accurately what you're asking for. You will be amazed. So many people say, I've been wanting to manifest this job. I've been wanting to manifest, for years, and I can't. And when I ask the people, okay, so tell me, what is it that you are really, how is it that you are asking for it? And you will be amazed how many people cannot formulate specifically and accurately what they're asking for. So make sure you are being very accurate and specific with what you're asking. And then understanding that intent is created by thought, which is an electromagnetic signal that shoots out of your brain. Then you have to direct it. You have to imagine that this signal is pointing somewhere. It's not pointing up or down or in circles or hoping for the best. It's very specific. That's why I'm showing you these visuals, for you to imagine this arrow shooting out of your physical brain and reaching very specifically. We're going to try that later, actually. Very specifically a target. And finally, I would say use an intent, ask an intent. I'm going to tell you why. Many people say, why ask an intent? Why asking? And what is that about? So I came up with ask an intent, but let me clarify that for you. So first of all, who are you asking? If you understand, again, the dynamics, that's why. If you understand your whole being, then you're asking your higher consciousness. It's not just anything. You're not asking God floating around. You're not asking the universe. Some people ask the universe, what's the universe? The universe is very, very big. But it's your higher consciousness, the part of your consciousness that is universal, by the way, that can retrieve the information for you. So don't ask the universe. Ask the aspect of you that is universal, that is connected with all that is, you see? And then, why do you have to ask? To receive the guidance for your human aspect, because your human aspect is bombarded with 3D information. You are looking around trying to understand what you're doing here and how to have a normal 3D life. So you need a higher guidance sometimes, because it could get overwhelming, and certainly because we're not receiving the proper information about all of these mechanics about creation. And also understand what asking is. Asking, again, is generated through the thought, which is an electrical signal. Please look at this drawing very carefully. Understand that every time you say, I want something, this line here, again, I'm repeating this. I'm doing it on purpose so that it registers on many levels. This line here comes out of your forehead, comes out of your brain, and shoots out somewhere. Right? So if you can memorize this, the next time you ask for something, if this signal is not sharp, is not charged specifically at a vibration, it will not go anywhere. And that's why you should not be surprised when you don't manifest. All right? So that's the asking. And finally, I want to tell you that the ask and intend is a formula. It's like the CD. It's charged with 1,000 hertz. That's why I put it together. People who are using their head or try to kind of, understand, why the word asking, or looking too much about the technical things and getting into the semantics, I would say just relax. This is a formula that I put together that is charged with the 1,000 hertz. So use it, enjoy it. It's much faster. All right, so here we go. Now we understand what intent is. We understand why we're saying ask and intent. We understand how we are creating and attracting. Now we can begin the healing. So here's Bob, right? We said, here's the, whoops, it went very much further, faster. But what happens is that you make Bob say, I ask and intend to release the sadness. And here's the first arrow shooting out of his brain, shoots out and targets a specific ball, a specific bubble, a specific string. You see how it moves? You see another block. As you are merging with Bob, you feel the sadness, so therefore you tell Bob, repeat after me. I ask and intend to release the sadness, as you have already asked to be guided to the root cause. Then the bubble that needs to be, it's like the one domino piece that needs to be taken out is targeted. When you say, I ask to release your sadness, sometimes you hear me when I do the sessions, I say, focus on your head or focus on your heart or focus. That's what I'm doing, is I am looking at the one bubble that is exactly in your right lung, for example, and that's the one domino piece that I need to hit first in order for the entire yellow string to collapse. Does that make sense? That's the reason why I tell you to go to all these places. So then you merge with the Bob. As you're merging, you feel the next emotion, the next cluster of energy, and it is fear, and you feel it in the stomach. So then you say, Bob, repeat after me. I ask and intend to release the fear in my stomach. And as he says that, I don't know if you are seeing this on your screen, but there's an electrical charge that leaves the head as soon as he says, I ask and intend. This tiny little electrical signal shoots out of his head and targets specifically the bubble that I'm looking at as the healer. You see how it works? And then the more I keep looking, the next feeling is, let's say, confusion. So then I tell Bob, repeat after me. I ask and intend to release my confusion about this and that targets specifically the one bubble that is holding the entire green string, for example, and the entire string disappears, and therefore the bubbles cannot be held anymore together, and that entire string information gets released in the body. So it's about knowing the exact piece of domino to take out. Does that make sense? And I keep focusing again, and then finally, for example, I see anxiety. I feel anxiety. Therefore, it's about Bob. He's the one feeling anxiety. I say, repeat after me. I ask and intend to release the anxiety about this and that. And I am targeting the one bubble that is right at the heart center. And that bubble is going to take out the rest of that other string, you see? Very easy. And then finally, I have very little left. I feel, again, it's always retrieving the information through feeling. I am feeling now that it is about, for example, abandonment. So I tell Bob, because I am feeling abandoned, I tell Bob, repeat after me, I ask and intend to release abandonment from my heart, and that releases, that was the one domino piece that allowed the rest of the strings to disappear. Does that make sense? And before I know it, all the strings, all the bubbles are gone. And I can go back, Bob rather, can go back being absolutely clean. No strings, no bubbles. You see? But this happened because I understood that the bubbles and the strings were all interconnected. I understood that I had to say, I need to go to the root cause. It's not important to just, try to fix a little something. I need to follow the strings and go all the way to the end in order for me to achieve this. That was what was required. All right? Good. Okay, so let's take some questions. We're going to stop here. Carmen, you have a question? Let me see here. Go ahead, Carmen. What's your question?
Hello. Yeah, I had a question before. Last week you were talking about when you're taking pills or medication, or even if it's natural medication, you're actually putting information into the cells, more information into the cells.
Right.
Yeah. So I was wondering, because I think everything is information. What we are doing with spiritual healing is also giving information to the cells to release things and to vibrate at a different level. But everything that we encounter is doing that, isn't it?
Yes, of course, but the idea is not to add information. Sorry. Oops. The idea, are you all still there? The idea is not to release information, to add more information in the sense of a programming. In fact, even if you look at it as programming, even if you're looking at, when you're saying, okay, let's go back to the original blueprint or go back to the original vibration or what have you, even if this is programming, but this programming is consistent with the programming that you came with before you entered the human form. You see? So the programming is resonating. See, I'm bringing back the slide of the cell for you. Here, you're going to see it in just a sec. So when I'm saying, okay, the spiritual teaching or whatever, this work that we're doing, raising the vibration to 1,000 hertz, is resonating with this information: self-sustaining, self-managing, self-organizing, self-regenerating, love, truth, beauty, all of this. It's resonating with that. That's what we're doing. It's resonating. We're not adding something that didn't exist already. It came with this information. We're reminding it that it has this information. That's what we're doing. We're not adding something that it wasn't. Whereas when you put I'm not good enough and I'm not loved by Creator and this and that, this information wasn't there. And that's the difference. You see?
Okay, yeah.
All right.
I understand. And can the blocks then also, if you ask for the root cause,
Yes.
can it also be that you end up in a past life?
Of course. Of course, many times, in fact, you go back to a past life. And the idea is that sometimes the root cause started in a past life, and it's not just one life, but many past lives. So part of your agreement is to also discern what is past and what is this life. So that's another reason why the agreement is very important. So as I retrieve, go ahead.
Sorry, would you agree that information from past lives is actually downloaded again at birth into the cells, like what you've put here in red, all these negative information?
It depends. This is a very, very big topic. I cover that in the class Mastering the Human Mind, because everybody comes back in for different reasons and brings back different things for different reasons. And most of the time, in fact, the purpose of you, let's say, for example, in a past life, I had, I don't know, cancer or something, and I didn't master it. In other words, I got afraid and I, tried to, whatever. It was I couldn't master it. I couldn't bring myself back to a healthy place or what have you. And in fact, my whole life was about fear of illness, right? So in this lifetime, I'm going to bring something similar to this so that I can master it. The purpose of reincarnation is to master something. And so, but if I'm aware of my past life and I know exactly that that's what I'm doing, then I'm going to know beforehand, and so I'm not going to master anything, because when I get sick in this lifetime, I'm going to say, oh yeah, that's right, it's because I did it in another life. And so it's kind of easier so to master it if you already know what you're supposed to be mastering. You see what I mean? So the idea is to block yourself from the past life information for a while, and then you reintegrate it. It's more about integration, so that you can master this particular situation. But it's really case by case. You don't have to necessarily, not because you didn't master the human body in a past life, that you have to do it again. Maybe in this lifetime, it has nothing to do with your body. It has to do with your fear of poverty or something, and you're very healthy. So it's not necessarily true that you have to know about past life and that every block will take you to a past life. It's really case by case.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sure. Okay. Anybody else? Please, this is the time for questions. Let's see here. It's easier if you can raise your hands, but speak through the mic. Let's see here. Christina is also just saying about past life, but her question is how easy is to spot and remove, also in terms of interfering with karmic cycle. Okay, so this is exactly where the agreement comes in, the healer's agreement. So part of your healer's agreement, and it's going to make more sense, like I said, because I'm going to send you the document and you're going to look at it and you're going to have time to integrate all of this. Part of your agreement is you're going to say, all right, well, because I could be going in so many different directions here, my agreement says that when this person comes to me, I will be able to see and feel and sense as far as they can go. So if this means that this person is ready to understand that the root cause of her current pain in the hands is because she was tortured in a past life and burnt at the stake, well, then I should be able to see it and feel it and convey it to her. You see what I mean? So you put in your agreement that everything that's showing up in this session, it means that the person or the client is ready to handle. This way, the stuff that the person cannot handle or is too much or is interfering with their own karmic cycle or their own spiritual awakening or with their own whatever, you're not going to be able to see. Does that make sense? So that way, there is something about free will as well. You are allowing the person to, you're honoring the person's free will as well. Okay? Is it important for the client to speak about the intent, or can he think this in her mind? I'm not sure about to speak, out loud. Sorry, I didn't read this correctly. It's better if there's something about saying it out loud, but if there's a big block about saying things out loud, then you can let it go. Again, this is where you have to really feel every client and just kind of adjust your style depending on the client. For example, I work with children. I use different terms that I use with adults and with, for example, people who are dying, for example, that, I use different terms, or people who are very religious or something. So you can adjust your style, but there is something, if possible, I would stick to speaking out loud, because there is something about speaking and allowing this person to hear themselves say it. It's very, very, very powerful to use the intent in that way. All right, go ahead, Jean, you have a question?
Yeah, it's about the intention. When we are trying to create something in our lives, is it also a possibility that, say, we're doing one of your meditations with you and we're able to raise our vibration to a point, and we desire something and we ask for it and we put it out there and we feel it in the moment, we can almost touch it. And then is it a possibility that because we're learning this, we can't maintain the vibration long enough to pull it in? Does that happen or no?
Yes, of course. So what happens is that, in fact, many people ask that question. It's about maintaining. Many people say, when I'm in the session with you, I feel amazing. I'm expanded. I get, I'm vibrating. I'm creating. And then I try to redo this exercise by myself at home, and I don't feel the same. So what's happening is that, again, don't forget that we are not trained in any of this. Do you realize that as children, we are not taught about what our thoughts are doing. We're not taught about what our emotions are doing. We're not taught about vibration, period. When was the last time that in kindergarten or what have you, you are told that you are vibrating, and you are vibration and you are energy and all that stuff. So there's so much programming. It's years and years and years and years for yourselves to behave in a certain way. And now, after all of the, this whole story, you have you've created all these bubbles and all these strings, and everything is a big mess inside your being. And now you're trying to go back to 1,000 hertz. So, a part of you is saying, well, wait a minute, what about all this other stuff that's at 100 hertz, So it takes a little time. So the idea is, the more you do this, the faster you're going to be able to maintain it. That's all I can say, really. And the more you understand how this is done, the faster you're going to. So you do some healing, and you do more just staying in the connection, and do more every day. Do a little bit of clearing. If you understand every day, say, show me the root cause of whatever it is, right? And allow the domino effect to happen. You will release 4 or 5 strings a day, Understanding that this is the fastest way you're undoing all of the information that you put in, then the next time you'll be able to sustain it more and sustain it more and sustain it. It's really all about practice. I find that it's the fastest way, because what happens is that even though sometimes with other techniques you feel really, really good, but you're not really treating the whole problem. You're still kind of, when you say, for example, the visualization, people say, oh, just visualize that you're there, like you were just saying that I have the money in my hand, I can smell it, But even if you do, but you still are doing all of this with the confusion, with the anxiety, with the fear, this stuff is still there, you see. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, just do it. Just understand that there's all this stuff there. Just get it out. So that's why all of these techniques are very fast, so that you can, as you train your brain to hold this vibration every day, you're also doing the undoing and the clearing. Okay, John, why don't you use your microphone? Go ahead, John. Tanzania, speak.
So this is related to maintaining vibration.
Sorry, you have to speak up, my dear. Louder.
Okay. This is related to maintaining our vibration.
Yes.
I noticed that sometimes after I've released and cleared many blocks, let's say, for example, I moved to a different area, it seems that through entrainment, the vibrations of a lot of the people around me seem to try to make the blocks come back.
Of course.
It's getting really hard to maintain the high vibration.
Of course.
So I was wondering if you have some tips about that.
Yeah, that's why I say get away from the family as quick as you can. No, joking. But, well, kind of. You work on yourself. You see, all of this whole story was created as a child, right? As you're growing up with your friends and family and neighbors and what have you, right? And so here you are now working on yourself, holding a vibration of 1,000 hertz, and you start to clear the first bubble, the second bubble, all these strings are start to clear, but then you come in contact with the people that kind of where all of this was create it again. So because you have not totally undone the whole story, I'm saying this is the fastest way, but I'm saying it still takes a little bit of time. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but since you're born, you've been accumulating, you've been going in one direction, and now, just now, you're starting to go in the other direction. So I'm sharing with you the fastest, most accurate, and most permanent way to undo this, but you're still kind of going against the current for a while. So in the beginning, you're going to release, let's say, looking at this picture, let's say you're going to release these 4 bubbles up here, right? But you still have all these other 14 bubbles. So if you went at this point and met other people, you're going to have a hard time holding your own. But then if you continue the work and you take out another 3 or 4 or 5 bubbles with all the strings that go with it, now you're at 50% done, and you go back, you're going to waver a little bit, go back and forth. But if you continue to do it, there's going to be very little left, maybe 2 or 3 things. You may get triggered a little bit, but you have 70% of you now completely clean, completely vibrating at 1,000 hertz. Nothing is going to shake you. Nothing. Like I said, there may be a little trigger here and there. It's just to finish off the last few things left. So it's all about time and practice and your intent. Okay? Good question. Go ahead, Joyce. What's your question? Did you have a question?
Hello?
Oh, okay. Your hand was up, sorry.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, you have a question?
Yes, I am a bit confused about the role of the thought and the feeling. I mean, sometimes when you are trying to find the root cause, your brain you might not be able to quiet down your reasoning, your brain work, and work with your heart and your feeling.
Of course. Yes.
So, at the same time, when you want to create or manifest a reality, you said that we need to use our thoughts. So I'm a bit confused between the two.
You don't need to use your thought. You are using your thoughts. When you say your reality, when you say you want a house, you're using your thought. But I think what you're asking is, how can you have clear thoughts as to how to create and know what to create? I think this is the biggest challenge. That's another thing that is a very, very big problem on the earth, is because we don't train our minds. We don't train our human brain to function the way it's supposed to function. Remember, we only use 10% of our brain, apparently? Yes, exactly. If we were trained to use the 100% of our brain, meaning experience reality, we will be in a very calm, very consistently in a calm way, because this means that the information coming in and out of our brain is kind of using our entire brain to filter through. It's not just going through just a part of it. If it comes through a part of it, then the information is not complete. And so what happens is we have many questions. We fight with it. We kind of start to generate a lot of question and confusion about the information we've received. And then this whole thing ends up being a mess. That's why there is so much mind chatter. We talk constantly, because we're trying to process the information we are receiving from the physical world, and we're trying to figure out the signal that we're supposed to put out there. So this is, again, part of our training. So how do we do this? When you raise your vibration to 734, again, maybe in the beginning, you're not going to be able to quiet your mind, but then you keep at it again, you keep at it again. You have less and less bubbles, less and less strings, and eventually you will be able to get there. So I will do sometimes specific exercises. In fact, I showed, I'm not sure what class it is, but go online, go to my website, and there are some, in fact, the healing circles have some of them have mind quieting, and the 0-point mind quieting in the guided meditation. Try that over and over and over. Your brain will be trained to go back to this place. When you are in this quiet place, then your thoughts will be very clear and you will be able to process the information and know exactly how to direct your intent. Go ahead, Laura.
Oh, hi, Caroline. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Hey.
Okay, great. I wanted to ask you a question about language.
Yes.
I've read one of your books in a French version.
Yes.
And the formula, I ask and intend, has been translated in French as I ask and command.
Oui.
Commande et commande.
Oui.
And I wanted to know if you had decided this with a translator, or is this just the translator's choice?
Yes, I have decided this with the translator. In fact, this particular translator, I usually, when a publisher wants to publish my book in a different language, they usually do everything. You know, I just look at the title and that's it. I mean, the cover. But in this particular case, this translator and publisher wanted to be very, keep the integrity and the energy. He really understood that. And so he asked me to work with him, and he specifically asked me, what words do you want for this and for that? So these are my words, and they are charged in the same way. Now, even the book in Dutch, for example, I didn't work so closely with that translator. However, I put in, it's almost like, even though there's some choices of certain words at that time, but through my intent, you know, it kind of created at least a vibration that is consistent with this one, with the original one. Yeah. All right. Great. Okay. So we're running a bit out of time here. I really would like to do the experiential part, but go ahead, Mariska. Mariska. You have a question? Okay. No question. All right. So maybe we'll continue with the question next time. So what I'd like to do now is lead you through the ask and intend. And of course, I apologize, I see all your hands and your questions. So please go ahead and send those to me by email. And like I said, I will do my best. I will create another session for this. I really would like to try to do the experiential part now. So what we're going to do is we're going to use, again, ourselves, and to do some healing, because everything that we do with ourselves is the same for a client. So we're going to merge with a part of our body, and we're going to retrieve the information through feeling. Whatever we feel is about that part of the body. So let's say I have pain in my ankle. I will merge with my ankle. I feel sadness. I'm going to say I ask and intend to release the sadness. Breathe in, breathe out. And then I'm going to wait for the next feeling. I'm going to feel confused, or I'm going to feel that it's a belief system. For example, I feel I'm not good enough, or I feel I have failed or something, or I don't want to be here in human form, or what have you. We're going to release that through intent and go from there. All right? So here we go, and I will probably throw in a couple of other things. So here we go. Ready? Sit up straight with your feet flat on the floor. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in through the nose. Deep breath. Exhale through the mouth. Relax. Quiet your mind. Quiet your thoughts. Again, breathe in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Quiet your mind. Quiet your thoughts. Again, breathe in through the nose. Exhale. Go to your heart center, set your intent. I ask and intend to create a sacred space. Keep away the distracting thoughts, distracting information. My intent is to merge with my higher self and retrieve the root cause of my imbalance so that I can reverse it permanently. So it is. Breathe in. Exhale. As you exhale, expand from your spirit self. Imagine that you are wrapping around one organ in your body. Even if you don't have a chronic problem, just choose one, only one. As you begin to wrap around this organ, begin to feel the first block that will lead you to the root cause. As you feel this particular block, the feeling or belief, focus on it. Imagine that you are pointing an arrow, a signal, an electrical signal, and say, I ask and intend for this feeling or belief to be released from every cell of my organ and body. Breathe in through the nose, exhale through the mouth, and just imagine this information just being erased, completely erased from the cell. Continue focusing on the organ and now notice how you feel. Imagine that you are sending an arrow, an electrical signal, towards this organ. Say, I ask and intend to release this feeling or this belief from every cell in this organ and my physical body. Breathe in through the nose, exhale through the mouth, and just imagine the information that was written in the cell is just disappearing. Continue to wrap yourself around this organ. Now set your intent. I ask and intend to resolve all the blocks, all the misaligned information that is written in every cell of this organ. Focus on your forehead and send a very clear, very specific arrow, a signal, an electrical charge of 1,000 hertz. Breathe in. Exhale. Imagine this signal going deep into every cell of this organ. Imagine that this has triggered a domino effect throughout your body. Let it be. Allow this information to register now. Let it go. And now, without you specifically pushing or asking or projecting, allow your higher self, your spirit self, to just organically, spontaneously gravitate towards an organ of its choice. And you just allow it. Breathe in, exhale, and imagine your spirit self now expanding, going towards one organ of its choice, wrapping around this organ. As you emerge with this organ, quiet your mind, don't question, be in your heart. What do you feel? As you begin to feel, don't question, don't ask questions, just feel. Say, I ask and intend to release this feeling or this belief from every cell in this organ. Breathe in through the nose. As you exhale, send out a very clear, very specific arrow from your forehead into that organ at 1,000 hertz, and just allow it to register. Specifically, ask it to erase all of the misaligned information that is written in the cells of this organ. Breathe in through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Continue to wrap around the same organ for a moment. Ask for all the misaligned information to bundle up in a cluster, all of it, all of the information that is misaligned, that was added. As you put it in a cluster, say, I ask and intend to erase this information once and for all. Breathe in. As you exhale, send your arrow very clear, very specific, at 1,000 hertz. Allow it to touch this bundle, this cluster of information, and dissolve it. Don't make it or push it, just intend and let it go. You become the observer. Imagine every cell in this organ now perfectly clear, like a clean slate, perfectly clear. Still focused on this organ, say, I now ask and intend for this domino effect to continue throughout my body and erase all related bubbles and strings and information in a safe and comfortable way. Breathe in, exhale, let it go. Fill your heart and your chest with a deep purple light. Imagine that this light restores the original blueprint, is calming, it allows you to feel pure and clean and connected. And slowly, when you're ready, open your eyes. And for those who have a quick question before we sign off, you're welcome to share your comment or questions. If you want to continue to stay in this space, it's fine. If you have a question before we sign off, this is the time. And somebody's asking, when working with Bob, what do you do if you get a lot of information and clearing, but nothing specifically about his hands? That's my point. You probably will not get very much about the hands. Of course, that's in general. And that's exactly the idea. This type of work allows you to go much, much deeper into the story that triggered today's current block. And most of the time, it has nothing to do with the hands. That's precisely my point. And if you were to release the root cause, then the problem in the hands will disappear. That's the idea. The root cause will allow the problem to disappear in the hands. John is saying, as I focused on an organ and other organs show up, are those organs which are connected? Yes, exactly. See, that's why I'm showing you these drawings, these visuals, because you're going to start to recognize this as you do this work. it's kind of like the Spanish, in ancient times where they could not see the boats because at the time, of course, very ancient times, they did not understand the concept of a boat. So they looked out to the sea and they saw nothing. But then when somebody came, of course, I'm kind of shortening the story, but then somebody said to them, wait a minute, there's something, a box that you can put people in and it can float on the water, and it's called a boat. And once they understood that that could be possible, then they could see all the boats at sea, you see? So the idea is you cannot see certain things if you have no idea, no frame of reference, and if nobody told you that these things existed. So that's what's happening with this. I'm showing you these visuals for you to begin to recognize them. And that is the idea. All right, so if no one else has any more questions, I can see your comments. Feels great, you feel great, okay. I hope you are feeling on a deep cellular level what this work has done for you tonight. You can practice on other people. I'm going to send you, like I said, the Healer's Agreement, but I also highly recommend that you look at the guidance series in the library. That will help you sharpen your guidance system and your agreement. So please look for that. Practice, practice, practice. Do the connection as much as you can so that your brain continues to experience the high vibration and get used to the new programming. All right, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this. I look forward to connect with you again next week. Thanks so much.
The organizer has ended the session.